There's a spreadsheet going around LinkedIn right now that's making people uncomfortable. It shows two employees at the same company. Same role, same performance, same years of experience. But one makes $72,000 and the other makes $95,000. The difference? One person switched jobs twice in 5 years. The other stayed loyal. That $23,000 gap isn't a one-time bonus. It's permanent. It compounds. Over a 20-year career, that single decision to stay versus switch is worth over $600,000 in lifetime earnings. But here's what nobody's talking about in 2026. The rules just changed. And if you don't understand what shifted, you're about to make a very expensive mistake. This is Easy Street Invest. I spend way too much time analyzing labor market data, wage trends, and why some people accelerate their careers while others plateau for decades doing the same job. If you want to understand how to actually grow your income instead of just hoping your boss notices your hard work, make sure you subscribe. Because what I'm about to show you will completely change how you think about career strategy. The career move. Everyone's missing. For most of your life, you've probably been told that loyalty pays off. Stay with a company, put in your time, work hard, and eventually you'll be rewarded with promotions and raises. That sounds reasonable. It feels fair. And it's completely wrong. Here's what actually happens. The average American who stays at their job gets a 3 to 4% annual raise. That barely keeps pace with inflation, which means in real terms, you're basically running in place. Meanwhile, historically, people who switched jobs earned 10 to 15% more, sometimes 20%, not over a decade, immediately, just by changing employers. Let me put that in perspective. If you make $60,000 and get a 3% raise, you earn an extra $1,800 next year. If you switch jobs and get a 15% bump, you earn an extra $9,000. That's not a small difference. That's a life-changing difference. And it compounds, because next year's raise is calculated on your new base. So that $9,000 decision becomes $15,000, then $25,000, then $40,000 over time. It's the single highest ROI financial move most people will ever make. But here's where it gets complicated. In 2026, something strange is happening. The 2026 reversal nobody saw coming. For the first time since the Great Recession, job stayers are earning better wage growth than job switchers. Let me repeat that because it sounds impossible. People who stayed at their jobs saw 4.1% wage growth in early 2026. People who switched jobs, 4.0%. The gap is small, but the trend is undeniable. For 6 straight months, loyalty has paid better than switching. The only other times we've seen this pattern were during the 2008 financial crisis and the early 2000s dot-com crash. So what the hell happened? The short answer is the labor market froze. Hiring slowed down. Companies got cautious. And suddenly, switching jobs stopped being the golden ticket it was in 2022 and 2023. Back then, during the post-pandemic boom, job switchers were earning 8.5% annual raises while stayers got 5.9%. It was the best time in modern history to change jobs. People were quitting in record numbers because it simply paid to do so. But now, that premium is gone. And a lot of people are confused about what to do next. Why this changes everything. Here's what most people are getting wrong right now. They're looking at the current data and concluding, okay, I guess I should just stay put and hope for the best. That's the wrong takeaway. The right takeaway is this: timing matters more than ever. And strategy matters more than loyalty. Because here's what the data actually shows. Over a full career, job switchers still earn dramatically more than job stayers. We're talking 30 to 50% more in lifetime earnings. That's not a rounding error. That's the difference between comfortable retirement and working into your 70s. The research is clear. For workers above the 40th percentile of earners, switching jobs accelerates wage growth dramatically. Job stayers see steady 2% annual growth regardless of income level. But switchers, their growth rises from 0% at the bottom to 3 to 4% in the middle and up to 10% at the top. The pattern is obvious. Staying keeps you steady. Switching accelerates you, but only if you do it right, and only if you time it correctly. The math everyone ignores. Let's run a quick scenario that'll make this real. Two people start their careers at $50,000. Person A stays at the same company for 10 years, getting 3.5% annual raises. Person B switches jobs every 3 years, getting 12% bumps each time. After 10 years, Person A is making about $70,000. Person B is making nearly $79,000. But here's what really matters. Over those 10 years, Person B earned $82,000 more in total income, not annual salary. Total money in the bank. That's not extra vacation days or better benefits. That's actual cash that could have paid off debt, built an emergency fund, or created the margin we talked about in the last video. And remember, margin is infrastructure. That $82,000 isn't just nice to have. It's the foundation that lets you take risks, negotiate confidently, and build wealth. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Extend that over 30 years, and the gap becomes $400,000 to $600,000 in lifetime earnings. That's the cost of loyalty. So what do you do in 2026? This is the critical question. If switching doesn't pay right now, and staying keeps you stuck, what's the actual strategy? Here's the framework. If the market is weak, like it is in early 2026, you don't stop preparing to switch. You prepare harder. Because when the market turns, and it will, the people who are ready will capture the biggest gains. If your current role has growth potential, real promotions, skill development, mentorship, then staying makes sense temporarily. But set a timeline. 12 months, 18 max. If nothing materializes, you move. If you're already underpaid or stuck, switching is still worth it, even in a down market. Because staying in a bad situation doesn't get better just because hiring slowed down. You're just losing more time. The key insight is this. Career strategy isn't about reacting to the current market. It's about positioning yourself to capitalize when conditions improve. The skills gap that actually matters. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Sarah. She's 34, works in marketing, makes $68,000 at a mid-size company. She's been there 5 years. Good employee, solid reviews. But here's the thing that keeps her up at night. Her friend from college, same degree, similar experience, just switched jobs. Now makes $89,000. Sarah feels stuck. She thinks, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need another certification. Maybe if I just work harder, they'll notice. But that's not the problem. The problem is, Sarah thinks this is about skills. It's not. Here's what most career advice gets wrong. They tell you to build your skills and add value, and somehow that will magically translate into higher pay. But skills alone don't increase your salary, leverage does. And there are only 3 types of leverage that actually work. First, external leverage. Another company wants to hire you. This forces your current employer to compete or lose you. This is why job offers, even ones you don't take, are valuable. They reset your market value. Second, internal leverage. You have specialized knowledge or relationships that make you hard to replace. This isn't just doing your job well. It's becoming the person who knows how the critical system works, who has the client relationships, who built the thing everyone relies on. Third, positional leverage. You're in a high-demand field where companies are desperate for talent. This is why software engineers, cybersecurity specialists, and healthcare workers still get switching premiums even in weak markets. Most people have none of these. They're good employees doing solid work, but they're replaceable. And replaceable employees don't get raises. They get COLAs. If you want to earn more, your job isn't to work harder. It's to become harder to replace. The negotiation mistake that costs $50,000. Let's talk about what happens when you actually get a job offer. Most people approach it like this. The company offers $75,000. You think, that's more than I make now, and I'm afraid they'll rescind the offer if I push too hard. So you accept. That decision just cost you $50,000 over 5 years, maybe more. Here's why. Companies budget 10 to 20% more than they initially offer because they expect negotiation. If they offer $75,000, they have approval for $82,000 to $85,000. They're waiting to see if you'll ask. But most people don't, because they've never been taught that negotiation isn't about being aggressive or demanding. It's about giving your future manager the ammunition they need to justify paying you more to their boss. Here's the framework that actually works. First, you never talk salary during the initial call. You deflect politely. I'm more focused on finding the right fit first. Once we're both excited about the role, I'm confident we can work out the compensation. Second, you let them make the first offer. The person who names a number first almost always loses. Third, you respond with data, not emotion. Based on my research of comparable roles in this market, I was expecting something closer to $82,000. Is there flexibility in the budget to get us into that range? Notice the language. Not I need or I want or I deserve. Just the market rate is X. Is there flexibility? This isn't manipulation. It's how the game is played. And if you don't know the rules, you lose before you even start. Why your company won't pay you more. Let's address the uncomfortable truth about why staying rarely works. It's not because your manager doesn't value you. It's not because the company is cheap. It's because internal raises are capped by policy and external hires are not. Most companies have strict guidelines for annual raises, 2 to 5% depending on performance. Your manager might want to give you 15%, but HR won't allow it. The system isn't designed to reward loyalty. It's designed to minimize costs. Meanwhile, when they hire someone externally, they're competing with other companies, so they pay market rate, which means the new person sitting next to you, doing the same job, probably makes 15 to 25% more than you. And your manager knows it, and there's nothing they can do about it. This is why switching works. You're moving from the internal compensation system to the external hiring system, and this is why the advice to just prove your value and you'll get promoted is naive. The game is rigged. Not in a malicious way, just in a structural way. Internal mobility is always slower and less lucrative than external mobility. The timing question everyone asks. So when should you actually make the move? Not in 2026. Probably. Unless you're in a high-demand field or severely underpaid. But here's what you should be doing right now while the market is weak. And if you do one thing this week, literally just one thing, do this. Update your LinkedIn headline to reflect the role you want, not the role you have. Most people's headline says, Marketing Coordinator at XYZ Corp. That tells the world you're a coordinator. Instead, it should say, Marketing Strategist, Brand Growth and Digital Campaigns. This takes 90 seconds. And it completely changes how recruiters and hiring managers see you when they search for candidates. You're not applying to jobs yet. You're just making sure you show up when the right opportunity searches for someone like you. Beyond that, 1. Update your resume and LinkedIn profile completely. Not to apply to jobs, to be ready when the right opportunity appears. Most people wait until they're desperate to update their materials. By then, they've lost months of momentum. 2. Start building relationships in your industry. Go to conferences. Comment thoughtfully on LinkedIn posts. Reach out to people doing the work you want to be doing in 5 years. Networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about being top of mind when opportunities open up. 3. Track your wins obsessively. Every quarter, write down what you accomplished, what you saved the company, what you built. When it's time to negotiate, either internally or with a new employer, you need receipts. Vague claims don't work. Concrete numbers do. 4. Watch the market indicators. When job postings increase for 3 straight months, when quit rates rise above 2.5%, when wage data shows switchers pulling ahead again. That's when you move. The people who win aren't the ones who react to perfect conditions. They're the ones who prepare during bad conditions so they can capitalize when things improve. The uncomfortable conclusion. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. Your employer is not your family. Your job is not your identity. And loyalty is not a strategy. Companies will lay you off the moment it makes financial sense. They'll replace you in 2 weeks and move on. That's not cruelty. That's business. So why would you structure your career around loyalty to a system that doesn't reciprocate? The highest earning professionals understand something fundamental. Every job is temporary. The goal isn't to find the perfect employer and stay forever. The goal is to extract maximum value, learning, and compensation from each role, and then move to the next level when the time is right. This doesn't mean you job hop recklessly. It means you think strategically about what each role gives you and whether staying is still the highest leverage decision. And right now, in 2026, the highest leverage decision for most people isn't switching immediately. It's preparing aggressively so that when the market turns, and it will turn, you're positioned to make the move that your competitors missed. The $10,000 career move isn't about quitting tomorrow. It's about refusing to accept the loyalty trap that keeps most people stuck at 3% raises for their entire career. Because over 30 years, the difference between 3% and strategic switching isn't $10,000. It's $500,000. And the only question that matters is, which side of that gap do you want to be on?